So what are we talking about today?
Well, we're asking you about your healing journey. So,
Hmm.
where you came from and what guided you to the healing arts and what has inspired you along your journey. Going back on talking about films, you said at one point you were a filmmaker. Will you
Hmm.
tell me a little bit about that history of yourself?
Hmm. Well, first, I born healthy. You know, I messed up myself. I took care of this part, but I born very healthy and yeah, good family. But in the '60s, so beginning in '60, and it was the coming of the junk food, right? It was the beginning of AW, McDonald's, and fast food and cakes that can stay a month on the counter. This kind of thing. It was so convenient. My mother was a good mother, uh, but she didn't. They didn't know at this time. The side effect of any of this. So that's one part. Okay, so born healthy and yeah, just got intoxicated by the modern life. And I was also a sport person and a swimmer. Been a swimmer since my childhood, very young. Actually, I saved my sister from drowning. I was 7 years old. Yeah, yeah. I could not carry her, but I was like pushing her. I could hold my breath a long time. I was comfortable in the water. I was like, I think I get more out of breath when I walk than when I swim. I'm still like, it's still like that. I'm still a swimmer. It's always been my sport. I like it. And it was also my first meditation, I realized later, because I was doing long distance, swimming 9, 10 hours, things like that. And then, yeah, filmmaking. Since I was a teenager, I wanted to be a filmmaker. So, and I did. I didn't go far in this because I hated the business part of it. So as long as I was an amateur, I was making films. I was enjoying. As soon as the business jumped in, I just got very nervous. It was really my nervous system could not handle that business. And but when you're 20 and you're in the film industry, it's a cool thing. For a kid, at 20 is like, yeah, you just hang out with famous people, and there's a it's cool. It's a cool thing, and it's party all the time, and it's you stay up overnight for filming. You don't sleep and take drugs, and but it's at 20 years old. I thought it was very cool. I would not change 1 minute of this time, but combining the swimming, because I'm always been swimming and competing and training all this, but together was a little bit extreme. And at some point, my skin started to show up. I had really bad skin. My joints started to get stiff and locked, and sometimes I couldn't train anymore because of this. And he's just like 22, and this is happening. And but lucky. I'm so lucky. First, the luck. I started to have a back pain. Also, that was the most thing. I could not like link. I was linking the joint issue with my overtraining, not with the lifestyle at all. You know, and but this, like it was like something in my back, in the middle of my back, like I was, bringing me self-conscious constantly becoming self-conscious, like feeling myself. So I was having conversation and I was like not fully present because there was something inside me annoying. And I was qualifying this as pain, but it was not like a sharp pain, like you just have an accident or a vertebrae just go off and, it was like diffused. And I was qualifying this, my pain. So I was looking for all kinds of solutions and chiropractors, acupuncture. I didn't hear about acupuncture before, but I was telling people and they were saying, oh, try this, try that, osteopathic doctors, and I tried everything, but everyone were kind of signing me up for, you know, every week for endless time, and at this time I was 20. I didn't have the means to get into this, it was too much for me, too expensive to get into this. And actually I just like a mathematical thing, I just decided to sign up in a school, a Chinese medicine school. And why I chose Chinese medicine? Because one of my co-worker, who was like a soundman, okay, he went to Mexico to smoke pot, I guess, at this something, or do peyote, I don't know, and came back. But when he was there, he learned shiatsu with his feet, walking on people, and he told me, Dad, just lie down, I will show you something, and it was the best treatment I've ever had from anybody. I felt good for a moment, and that's how I chose Chinese medicine. It's crazy. Yeah, it's like, wow, what a silly idea. But actually the I chose Chinese. I chose to go to school because it was cheaper than to have the treatments. And my reasoning, all my teachers would be doctors, so I could ask any question and I would just have, like, free treatment. I didn't know on what I was jumping in, but I have been ravished by it, because everything I was reading, everything I was hearing, seeing, was taking me inside myself. And this is everything I was doing, the sport and everything. I realized then, I am a kinesthetic person, and I just like to have to feel the human experience. I think it's a cool thing, and all these practices were bringing me in, and I was like, wow, I was floating, a fish in the water. It was great, great time. I really loved that moment. And along that same period of time, I walked in front of a Zen dojo, and I saw all those bald guys sitting straight in front of a wall like this, and I thought, oh, this should be good for my back, So there was no spiritual intention in the process, but I thought of this to learn this, because I thought that, there was a little bit of this into the problem, my posture. So I thought that this would train my posture. So I knocked after they finished their training, and I asked if I could join, and they initiated me like how to behave in the dojo, and I was steady for 7 years. I even became a monk.
Where was this? Was this
That
in
was in
Canada?
Canada. That was in Canada. Yeah. The master was French Japanese, straight lineage from Deshimaru in the Soto Zen lineage. And but I was a passion for me. Why? Again, because it was an experience inside. It was the experience. It was taking me inside, and it was difficult, painful. How many times I thought they would need to chop my legs, because I couldn't feel them for half an hour in the Zen dojo. You can't move. Okay, you can't move. They'll give you shit if you move. You can't. You know, you got to go through that, and it's very stern, and and I love that. It's not for everyone, but my personality, I like. With sport, I always add coaches and things like that. They push you and they treat you like an animal, and and I loved it. I just for me it was a cool thing. But it was the same thing into another environment now with Zen masters, and but I loved it. And the other element was like the fasting. The fasting. My father was not like a new age hippie at all. He was very, very conservative person, but he had this habit. I don't know where he took it. Twice a year, he was having a weekend where he was drinking stuff and he was like pooing big time. Okay, it was, I don't remember what it was, but as a kid, it kind of it was my father was doing this, and so when I crossed a book from Dr. Herbert Shelton called Fasting, I got like pull. I wanted to, I'm sure that because of my father, I think it kind of brought my attention, and I read that book like, really like fascinated by it. And when I finished it, I just was in the yellow pages. At this time, there was no Google, because we're talking 1987. 1987, this is 35 years ago. I looked into the yellow pages, and I found one place in the countryside of Canada, a center, hygienist center, who were accepting people for water fasting. And I signed up for 3 weeks. It's like I didn't know what was going on. It's like the healing crisis people are experiencing in the book and all this, I didn't have a problem with it. And but when I started to fast, the first 3 days was okay, and then when I started autolysis, can you imagine? I was super toxic. I was super toxic. My liver was super toxic. My skin, everything, was terrible.
Ever a time you felt like you wanted to quit?
To quit what?
Just stop fasting when you
I
started
don't
hitting
think
those
so. I don't think
edges.
so. This is not my personality, really.
Mhm.
But I hated it. I'm not shy to say I hated it at this time, but it was like, ugh, I would stay, of course. But, like after, I started to have like acid reflux and, for days, water fasting is puff right in the mud. You just and so it kept going for a few days, and then at some point I started to have a pain in one eye, like as if someone was grabbing my eye and squeezing it like this. And what else? Oh, I started to have my skin peeling, like phyllo paste, like like little thin layers. And anyway, I was feeling bad, so bad, so bad. For actually, they do also like maybe there was like 17 days of fasting, and then they refed me, because on a water fast you cannot just jump in and take your car, and especially for long you need to rebuild afterwards. But it was the longest 3 weeks of my life. But when I came out of this, even if I was young, people could notice, what have you done? my God, your eyes and me, I could feel, like, wow, so light, so, so great. So despite the hard time I had during those 3 weeks, I never stopped. I never stopped. It's like I was looking forward for the next one. And with this kind of sport attitude, I was trying to bring my friends in, it's my personality, I come and some was just like, yeah, you're crazy. And then some others just joined. So I was trying to do it at home. I was trying to do all different ways because it was expensive to go in those centers all the time. And I could not afford that. And also, I thought I could do it after doing it. Of course, I did 21 days. I felt pretty confident to do a 10-day because I did not do always that long after. As I mentioned, I wasn't a sick person. I had discomfort and symptoms. I would probably be dead by now if I would not have fasted. That's for sure. I'm sure of that. But like I was very confident for 10 days or a week or so and that was easy to take friends in too also and to do it at home. I was living in a beautiful place by a lake in Canada. It was beautiful. So there was great environment to do that. And so this I kept going. I fasted over 700. I calculated a few years ago because someone asked me and say, oh, I don't know. I calculated, imagine like, you say 10 to 14 days, twice a year, 35 years, let's say 30 years, because that was a while ago before I discovered the enzymes. And plus I did 5 times 30 days like this. So you calculate, it's like I just realized that I didn't eat for over 700 days. So I have a lot of experience in terms of what you go through because it's one time you do it, you feel things and you learn and you understand. But when you repeat it, you go deeper and deeper, you understand what is going on. And that's why, like in 2012, in 2009 in Bali, I started to invite people for detox, but I did not have any equipment. I didn't have anything. It was just talking and doing some qigong exercises and, give them information so they can do it. But when I moved in China in 2012, I opened a formal detox center with colonics, and we have enema boards, kalima boards. We had full equipment, sauna, everything, and a studio for training. So I could really take people, invite people, and there was people from all over the world coming. Twice a year. There were 3 times a year formal retreat, 2 times 6 weeks, and 1 times 100 day. So I felt really confident to guide people because water fasting can be tricky if you don't know what you're doing. It's not like it's like no. It's like the fasting period is not so much the problem, although you need to know the signs if people get into deficiencies or anything like that. But it's more about after, when they refeed, that is the tricky part. People can really hurt themselves and die, like it needs to be careful. But I could do that because I was first, I'm a Chinese medicine doctor, so I could, I know what's going on in the body, and I had enough experience in fasting to guide some people. So this went on, for 10 years, and I just after COVID, I closed the center because there was all the people coming to the center were mostly foreigners, and they could not travel anymore in China. So we closed the center.
What
So
guided you to Chinese medicine?
It's my back, you know. It's
Mm.
as I mentioned before, it's a personal need. I never did that. At first, in 1980s, in the 80s in Canada, it was not part of the choices if you were looking for a career. Chinese medicine is like you had to look into Chinatown. You know, it's not like San Francisco where they may be like 10 years ahead. In Montreal, it was. I was one of the pioneers. I was on the board of the first Chinese medicine school because where I studied, I came into the acupuncture through a grandfather clause because I was studying with Chinese medicine doctor coming from Asia who had a school at home. This is how how early I was in the in Chinese medicine. But just to say, like the I know the preciousness of cleansing. I learned through that because after that, of course, in between, I was hearing about, have you tried the grape cleanse or the watermelon cleanse and the Arise and Shine and the how do you call it? The other one with maple syrup, like the Master Cleanse and all these, of course, as soon as I was hearing it, I was in it. It was I was passionate about it. I was yeah, I was liking it. It was not like oh, I got to do it. It's like I was liking the experience, like I was going to climb the Everest. It was like an excitement behind that, and that's why I just explored a lot of methods. I would say almost all methods. Recently, like there's the dry fasting that we hear more about lately, and I didn't have not have experience, and people were challenging me about about it. I say, okay, I will try it, and I tried it last winter, and yeah.
So you were just finding things that worked for you and wanting to deepen your knowledge and understanding them. And then ultimately being able to help other people because you were seeing the
Mm.
benefit within yourself. What guided you to move to China?
Mm. Yes, I'm altruistic, but I don't have all those thoughts. I never had this. I never had this thought about making a living out of Chinese medicine. I never had the thought about helping people with that before. I mean, after that, I just as soon as I knew something, I wanted to share because this is my personality, and I like to share and I like to help people. Don't take me wrong. It's not, but it's not. It was not like before or today. With all these things, you can choose it as a career. You can say, "Oh, I will do that," and there's potential, and I could take care of myself while taking care of others. But in this time, first, when I started, I didn't want to stop filming, working on films. I studied my old Chinese medicine. It was not about becoming a Chinese medicine doctor. I had no dream about that. I didn't know what to dream about that. I was just it was just like going into an activity where they were taking you inside for a personal experience. You know, so that was it, and that was not that expensive. I could afford it. I think I was paying like it was $250 a month or something like that, you know if I remember. It was really affordable, unbelievably affordable, and I enjoyed it. I just kept going like this. The training was like 3 years, and then I continued after to study for many years. For all my 30s, I would say for 12 years I was from retreat to workshops to and like I was trying everything. I was trying everything, like rolfing and psychotherapy and name it. I was really, really, really liking and and I was discovering we were meeting interesting people as well who were thinking outside of the box also. And that was interesting. They were not my style, because in those years, like, when I first entered that world, there was a lot of, for me, there was a lot of weird people there. That was that was a shock, but I realized later that, some place in myself was weird too, because I could resonate a lot with what was happening when I was sharing this with friends and or reading something and say, "Oh, read this," like they were reading this and they were looking at me. Anything wrong with you? Like, it doesn't make sense, or they would not resonate. But for me, it was like I was resonating very much. I think I was, uh, yeah, I was destined for that, I guess.
Exactly. It's kind of like everything sort of lined up in unexpected ways. Was there ever a moment that you felt like, oh wow, like all these things happening are not coincidences, like this was meant to happen? Was there like a point that
Uh-huh.
you felt
Yeah, maybe more recently. I thought like this because when I look back in all the series of events that just come in your life and direct you, it's almost like there's nothing that makes sense. It's almost like someone who hacked your brain and just manipulated you to do this and to do that. And because the logic is like sometimes I get the chills because I say, oh my God, if this event would not have happened, if this pain would not have happened, I would not have done this, and I would not, there was a series of things afterward. You look at it and you say, oh my God, you say, oh my God, it's like, what if I didn't have that pain? I wouldn't be happy like this today. It's crazy like this. Sometimes we check our families. We have like I always say these sacred contracts with our closer people, and I say, oh my God, if I would not have been angry because they told me this on that time and I ran out, I left the home and I just booked a flight, and I just go there and then I met that person. It's crazy like that. Sometimes when I look at my life is not so linear, and I wouldn't change a minute now. I would, you would say, if you would ask me this question, what would you change uh, in your life? Like, I'm happy, like I wouldn't change a thing because everything in the past, I think, contributed to to that happiness.
what would you say to someone who's just starting and has no idea where to go, or is just an open book and ready to learn? Where would you guide them?
I would say set your intentions is fill your heart with love, with excitement of what you how you want to see yourself, because this is the how do you call this, the light, the light you follow is the North Star, or the Southern Cross that we follow to keep going, because the journey is not an easy thing. The journey is challenging, and I realized that people who practice sports or a discipline, I had a lot of dancers. I know you're a dancer, but I had the dance school. I worked for two big dance company in Canada as the healer, and and a couple of them became instructors. They know how to go through the threshold of discomfort, and the pain, and still be graceful, go through it, and and go through the challenges. A lot of people, when they face discomfort, they say, oh no, I don't want that, I don't want that. It's like, and they don't hear the voice like, I'd rather die, but it's this that is implied oftentimes. But I would say, set your goal, whatever it is, and it can change along the way. It will change along the way, but set your goal. Me, at first, it was my back pain. Can you imagine? At 25, I had a back pain that was crippling, and I was like scared to be in a wheelchair at 50. And it's gone. It's like, we're talking 35 years later, and it's gone. I don't have this. My skin was like, so annoying and everything. It's gone. It's like I feel much better than I was when I was 25. And also emotionally, because the detox is happening not only at the physical level. As you cleanse on the physical level, you're challenged with emotion. You're challenged that your whatever, your sadness, your grief, your discouragement, your anger, your jealousy, your impatience, everything comes up to the surface, and this is gunk. This is emotional gunk that just disturbs your own life, and we invest in this, and we justify it. You heard this saying, say, like, anger is a resentment. Okay, it's like drinking poison, hoping the other one will die. It's like we are actually, when we feed that, and we just don't stop and say, okay, I want to get this out, I want to have enough of that, I want to be happy. So you need to let go. And how can you do that? Because your mind keeps justifying it. So cleansing is also about that, purifying at the emotional level, purifying the emotion, rising the vibration, the fear, the anger, the low vibration to the higher vibration, courage, happiness, joy, love, and above. And this comes constantly inside. And when you're cleansing, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity happening there, to work it out. And there's no book. There's some tools if you're lucky. Okay. But at some point, is what happens when it keeps coming. There's a surrendering happening. Say, okay, so be it. Okay, it's there. And if you give up. And this is where it opens. So that means, like, you've been able to live with it. Do you understand that? This is so important. People try to get rid of things. Emotionally, is not about getting rid of things. It's about transforming. It's about, like, all the things, the clouds, the rain, the wind, the storm, the lightning, the thunder, this will not change. But the way you relate to it, if you can handle that and continue to be able to smile, to be happy, and to be able to handle it. I mean, as a target, by the time you get, we get caught. But as long as you understand that and you keep going, you don't fall into the justification and nourishing the dark side. This question people ask, you have two wolves, the white wolf and the black wolf. Which one will survive? Is the one you feed. Yeah. So it's the same for emotions. The emotions are there, you know, the black wolf and the white wolf, they're both there. Yeah, but which one you feed, which one you ignore. It's the same thing when you meditate. The monkey, how do you get rid of the monkey? Ignore it. Don't play with it. Don't fight it. You know, feed and come back to your dedication, you know, and stilling your mind and quieting your mind, because this is another thing. The spiritual or the mental detox. As it gets agitated here, it gets agitated here. And it's another process, because here it comes as words. It comes as stories. And it reinforces the emotion. It's a vicious circle. You see that? Yeah? So this is very this is another type of practice. So this is important. This part is about emptying, it's about quieting, it's about not fighting, but you're invited every nanosecond. You're like, bring back, you know. And so this is what detox is about. Is about facing the holistic gunk that is there, and by repeating the experience is how we succeed, and we end up being healthy and strong. As we age, is not going downhill, but there's some kind of an uphill going even with aging. But for this we need a goal. I found it in teachers and masters that I followed. Like, I could not understand them. They pissed me off many times, but there was something in them that I wanted. And there was no word, but there was this kind of, I don't know, there was this kind of thing. It's like, when I'm old, I want to be like that.
What led you to qigong and utilizing it in sort of your daily life and becoming more of a practice?
This came after I practiced at clinically. I was getting exhausted very easily, uh, because of the intensity, and you're dealing with people coming, and they every people who cross your door is to share their pain, and you cannot imagine how can this suck if you don't have the tools to face it. And I am an empath naturally. I feel what's going on with people, and that's how I realized when I started, you know, when it was about locating acupuncture points, I could just look at someone and just go path. And the teacher noticed that, the owner of the school noticed that, and they hired me after. That's what gave my direction to my life differently, probably. Otherwise, if they didn't say that, because, you know, I was still young and on drugs and all this, you know, they didn't care, you know. They were hippies, and they were, you know, but they were healthy, of course, and but they could see clearly. Actually, the owner of the school was the mother of a pop star in Quebec. So she was not impressed by the young guy smoking a joint or having a party overnight, didn't sleep. She was not impressed. Her daughter was probably soaking in this. She was also surrounded by artists and all this. She was not impressed by that. So she could see very cool what was going on in me. And she hired me at the end of the training as an assistant teacher and to give treatment in her clinic. So this is really a woman who changed my life. Definitely. Yeah. So what, sorry, the qigong, actually, it's as you study Chinese medicine, and I was at the same time reading books of you know, biography of masters, and all this, you know, there was always these mysterious stories with people having superpowers, and you know, could do things. And I was like, and you could hear that they were practicing qigong, and all this. And at the school, without having a formal training, there was like some warm-ups we could do that was come from qigong and breathing techniques, and some movements to prepare us to give treatment, to align our energy. And there was this kind of thing that happening. There was little, but it really struck me, the effect of that. And also there's another other thing is, like, at 16 years old, I was at the college. I had a physical educator who went to India for summer holidays, and she studied yoga, and she came back, and for one semester she taught us yoga. And like at 16, I was already party started, for me, and the class was at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had to take a bus to go to school. I tell you, an hour later, I was fresh and clear. So for me, like, it was like already like, oh, how is that possible? I would have done jogging, would not have done this. It was like, it really woke me up on this. So if you add this and this and this, these little events, at some point I just looked in the for a teacher, and I found actually I found a book, Transforming Stress into Vitality, of Mantak Chia. Is a Taoist master, but very famous. He wrote so many books, and he really bind the new age culture. He kind of brought like the traditional Taoist, and he simplified it. I don't know if I should say this word, but he kind of made it, like, westernized it in the languaging, and is spread wide. I think everybody in the field must know about Master Chia. He wrote a lot of books about sexual energy. Also, he's famous for that, making things very accessible. So I went, and he was in New York. So for Montreal to New York, I could drive there. So there was my introduction, and actually the same thing happened. I signed up for a 3 weeks retreat, and I came back. I never stopped. I practiced, and 7 years later I asked, because I could have asked the following year, but as I say, there was no rush for me to become a teacher. It was not about a business. But actually, I was leaving every year to go study with him, and came back and practice and do other retreats. And it's actually my Chinese medicine client who at some point say, can we, instead of giving me a treatment, can you teach me something? So I were moving the table, and I was teaching them something, because I was talking about this. I would say, it's like, one day you would not need me. If you do this, you will not need me. You come back always for the same thing. I can teach you something. You would just get over it. I'm also tired to treat you for that thing. I'm not very patient. It's like, get over it. This has been my motto for so much. And with the enzyme, is the same thing. Let's get over it. It's so easy to heal. So I started to teach like this in my acupuncture room. And then the person say, "Oh, can I bring a friend?" Yes. Okay. So within that year, I had to rent a place, and that was the beginning of my qigong school. And I say, okay, I was confident, but I still wanted to have like the approval of my master. So I asked him for certifications. So if I like his permission to teach what he was teaching, and he gave me a whole list of things, because I was super trained already, a long list of things I could teach. So, and that was the beginning. And again, there was a plus in my life, and practicing it professionally was you know, every time, you know, no matter if my mind would have, if I would have done another job, it would have maybe be more difficult. But when I was treating, okay, I was invited to breathe. Sometimes I was sharing a short meditation with the client before starting. I was aligning my body. I was in my chi, you know, I was like full on into it. So that means like every working days, I was practicing a lot. You know what I mean? It's like every time I was invited by my work already to practice. So that was a blessing. That was a ideal situation. Yeah, but again, this is another thing. Is like I got mad at it, and I just practiced like crazy. Like, you know, I lost a lot of friends at this time because they were not interested in my new direction at all. You know, this is what happened. You know, like I would not say detox from friends because you know they're good people, but you don't. There's nothing that you relate anymore. Your life is changing. You're becoming you, and your new you, and your new you does not resonate with the same vibration you were before. So I ended up like totally with different friends, and I just kept just very few. I have very old friends, you know, like people I know for 40 years. Um, that are still there, that I still talk weekly. There's one weekly, but most of the others just vanished slowly, you know, disappeared as my life was changing, and even more when I left and traveled and this. Hmm. So
Wow, such a
yeah,
journey.
yes,
So many synchronistic things just led you to where you are today.
yes, yes. Yes, and I think that when you set your intention, what you want, and don't be shy, just go for it, feel it inside, you know, get this passion, this excitement of, but the journey, don't judge the journey, because once you set your intention and your clarity and all this will be your motivation. Will you be the light in the dark to keep following? But the journey itself, you will face all your demons, all your toxins, and your body when it's gonna cleanse, it's gonna bring back this kind of memory. It comes up to the surface. You say, okay, bye bye. And then it comes and okay, bye bye. You know, but if you're not aware of that, it will come and you will feel like, oh my God, not this feeling again. And you will just swallow it back in and push it back in. And this is, we make all this mistake, but you don't want to make it all the time. Okay, it's like this. You forgive yourself if you do it, and for sure. But it's important that you you figure out the way to allow what comes to the surface, whatever it is challenging. You know, it's like, oh my God, you know, this rage, this impatience, this is what do I do with that? You know, nothing, nothing. Let it be. Just let it be. Breathe it, breathe through all, you know, let this energy continue its journey. And this is what happens with people. It's like this comes to the surface, is, you know, and instead of letting this energy continue its journey, we swallow it back in, we compress it back in, you know, because that's what aging is about. It's a slow compression. It's a slow, constant compression until you're stiff and you can't move, and everything hurts and everything, and there's no more space to breathe. And then that's it. And then it's gone. Okay. But if you just understand that, and you say, wait a minute, I want space. I want to be able to breathe. I want every parts that I'm my body just being soft and comfortable. And it's not about your age. Don't justify it with your age. It's not true. This is not true. This is a lie. Of course, if you stay seated, and the older you are, you don't have the same resilience. You need to recover that resilience, but you can. So it's not about how long you're gonna live. This doesn't matter, and you you know you can die tomorrow, something can happen, it doesn't matter. But what we don't want is this 20-30 years of sickness, of anguish, of uh, fear, also the witnessing our degradation, our, like, this is hell. You don't want that. Okay, you just want to be alive until you die, and then and feel the experience of life, and then you will see that there's a plus that comes with it. It's not just like a how do you call it, a compensation. Okay, like a loser's gift or something. It's not about that. It's there's a gift, into it, because actually we all leave. We're all gonna leave, but you will not leave with what you got. You will not leave with what you've accumulated. You will not leave with youth. You will not leave with, you will leave with what you gave. You will leave with, with your vibration, how you get there, how you get to raise that vibration. And this can be a beautiful long-term light that you will be able to follow all your life. This is we're too focused on taking today, and this messes a lot of people's life. Is like, it's a wrong thinking, of course. And the argument that comes, yeah, well, we need this, and we need that, and we need money, and we need the health, and we need, yes, but the more you give, the more you get. That's the thing. But the principle is give and take, is not take and give. It's not like, when I have, I will, no, it's like, give what you have and it will happen. It's not the other way around. So that's important to, I think, to understand.